Millman, and this is day one of Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, a global initiative championed by the UAE and backed by clean energy powerhouse Masdar. Over the coming week, we will be diving deep into issues surrounding renewable energy and also the path to COP28, which of course will be held later this year in Dubai. Today, we're at the International Renewable Energy Agency's 13th Annual General Assembly. Delegates from IRENA's 168 member states have all come together from around the world. At the top of the agenda, how to promote international cooperation on the road to net zero. To do that, we'll need to measure where we are and where we need to be.
A global stocktake is underway, and by the end of COP28 in Dubai, we will all have a better idea of how countries around the world are delivering or not on their pledges to limit carbon. According to the UN's Climate Secretary Simon Steele, it's about ambition, accountability, and acceleration. An exercise to make sure every party is holding up their end of the bargain and knows where they need to go next to fulfill the goals of the Paris Agreement. Water, food, energy. It's the nexus at the heart of sustainable development. Traditional agriculture is the largest consumer of our planet's limited water resources, and water is also needed to produce most forms of energy. As the global population grows, and as many of us become more affluent and more urbanized, demand for power, heat, and transport also rises. Global energy demand is expected to double by 2050. It's called the energy trilemma: how to balance energy security, sustainability, and affordability. A delicate balance, especially for countries also dealing with geopolitical challenges like food insecurity, poverty, or war. Threatened by rising seawaters, plastic pollution, and freshwater scarcity, small island developing states are facing a triple threat. We are sinking, but we are all sinking, Tuvalu's foreign minister told COP26. Standing knee-deep in water, he called for urgent international cooperation to meet the climate targets set in Paris. With the inauguration last year of a solar plant and battery farm in the Seychelles, Masdar helped the African island nation one step closer to its clean energy ambition. The project will offset 6,000 tons of CO2 a year, an example of the international cooperation we'll need to meet our global targets.
Gauri Singh is IRENA's Deputy Director General. She has worked in renewable energy development for over a decade. She was one of the driving forces behind India's national solar mission back in 2010. She spearheaded several renewable energy initiatives aimed at improving the livelihoods of rural communities, artisans, and low-income women across India. And she joins us now. Welcome, Gauri. Thank you for making time for us. I know it's a crazy busy day today.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
All right, let's get started. What do you expect will be the main takeaways, or what do you hope will be the main takeaways from today's IRENA assembly?
You know, it's a very important day for us and a very important assembly because it happens in person after 3 years. So naturally, there's a lot of excitement about meeting people that you've only seen virtually for the last 3 years. But apart from the fact that we do have the who's who in the energy sector here, we have high-level, very, very high-level delegates who are here to discuss about the state of energy transition. But it also, it happens at a moment where the run-up to the COP28 is really starting. And our first plenary, in fact, is about the global stocktake, where we hope that there will be discussions on where we are currently and where we need to go. So clearly, you know, the strong messages that seem to be coming out from these conversations that we've heard in the COP27 and, you know, in other forums is that there needs to be an acceleration of pace So while there has been, there has been an increased uptake of renewables, but it's really not enough. It's clearly much more needs to be done. And I hope the discussions at the Assembly will lead to some, furthering the narrative on what needs to be done and how the pace can be accelerated for the energy transition moving forward.
Okay, we are, of course, in Abu Dhabi, the capital city of the UAE. As a major energy producer, what do you think the UAE brings to the table?
The fact that they were actually the first in the region to announce their net zero ambitions for 2050, I think was a great starting point for getting a momentum started off in the region. And since then, we've seen many other countries in the region up their ambition and bring in the net zero very firmly into the energy agenda. What we think is important is that in Abu Dhabi, it's not just an intent, a show of intent, but it's very clearly demonstrated by the actions that are being taken for getting projects on the ground, for actually making the moves that are needed to make the energy transition and the net zero happen. So I think that's a very important aspect of not just having a very strong political intent, but also being able to demonstrate it on the ground.
Okay, if you could sum up in one sentence for me, what is IRENA's top priority going forward?
I think for us, it is the pace of the energy transition has to be accelerated. There's no question about it. And I think we have in the Assembly today all the required decision makers who can take that decision and can actually take the required actions to make it happen.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Most welcome.
Dr. Nawal Al-Hosany is the permanent representative of the UAE to the International Renewable Energy Agency. Previously, she was Executive Director of Sustainability at Masdar, the international renewable energy leader based here in Abu Dhabi. She's been director of the Zayed Future Energy Prize, now known as the Zayed Sustainability Prize, and she's on the advisory panel for the United Nations Momentum for Change initiative. And you were one of the first two Emirati women to climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
I know, isn't that exciting?
You are a woman of many talents.
We tried.
All right, thank you for making time for us. Let's get started. What would the focus be of this year's IRENA Assembly?
Well, IRENA Assembly, first, it's so exciting to have it in person. The last time we had it in person was 2020, so everybody is just so excited and happy to be here. We have more than 1,800 registrations and more than 100 high-level and a minister that is attending in person here today, so it's fantastic. We're going to focus on basically driving towards COP28, and that has been the highlight of the forum, because as you know, being the host country of IRENA, we would like to leverage as much the knowledge and the experience that we have here within IRENA and within the network of IRENA and the membership of IRENA. So we are going to have the first plenary looking at the global stocktake, then we are going to look at many other elements that is going to be part of the COP debate. But just in general, we look into policy, we look into stakeholders engagement, so we will have a lot of panels that is looking at the private government partnership and the different stakeholders partnership. There is a very, very huge focus on youth. So we had a youth forum yesterday. There is also a clear understanding of the importance of gender and women's role when it comes to renewable energy, and that's why yesterday there was an event on gender in solar energy, and we are going to launch also an initiative. When I say we, I mean the UAE and IRENA, launching together an initiative under the umbrella of Women in Diplomacy, looking at empowering lives and seeing how women can have a bigger role, not only in being an implementer of those policies, but actually a person who shapes and designs such policies.
Great. What would you say is the future of renewable energy and renewable energy technology in the UAE?
You know, the UAE has been a trailblazer when it comes to generally sustainability initiative, but renewable energy specifically, when we started, you mentioned my role with Masdar. And when we started Masdar back in 2006, there was nobody talking about renewables in the region. We moved very quickly from having very little renewables to now having 3 of the largest, the cheapest actually, solar power plants in the world. And that shows how much commitment the UAE has. So the leadership of the UAE has been extremely clear on our vision and pragmatic in our approach to implementing that vision. So, we are not only looked at it from a technology point of view, but also very importantly from a capacity building point of view. And that's why in 2006, when we launched Masdar Institute of Science and Technology, that's now became part of the mainstream and became part of the Khalifa University of Science and Technology. So the future is for renewables here in the UAE is extremely clear. We are looking into integrating it as going to be a major part of our energy mix. Our energy strategy 2050 looks at clean energy as 50% of our energy mix. We are also introducing programs related to sustainability and renewable energy into all our universities as part of our curriculum even for the schools, and this is why it's very important to build capacity. We are looking at renewable solutions not only from electricity generation, but also from electrifying all our appliances. As you know, we have introduced a lot of policies for the solar roof programs. We are looking into sustainable transport, and it is a holistic and a very strategic approach to that within the whole of the UAE, and every emirate has its own targets as well when it comes to renewables.
So as we push that vision forward and outward from the UAE, how important do you think that international gatherings like this, especially face-to-face like this one finally is, how important do you think those gatherings are?
It's very, very important, and because, one of the things, let me tell you the story, and when we launched Masdar, one of the things that we launched at the same time was Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week. At that time it was called the World Future Energy Summit, and the reason we launched this platform is we've realized when we were doing this as a fact-finding mission around to check where we are when it comes to renewables globally, we noticed that there is what the sector is lacking is a platform that connects the different stakeholders and the different players in the sector. So there isn't one platform that connects government with the private sector, with policymakers, with academia, with civic societies, and with the public. And this is why you would see that this is when we launched Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, as I mentioned, it was World Future Energy Summit. We were the first platform that connects all those players at the same place. And why it's important? Because we cannot do anything, globally. It's very difficult for us to do something alone. You need this partnership. You need to share knowledge. You need to understand what works in which countries and what didn't work, which is more important, why it did not work. And we all basically complement and work with each other towards, a unified vision. So when we launched this is something that we kept doing, which is having this platform for advocacy around the world. So we have here IRENA Assembly, which is under the umbrella of Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week. Then we have the World Government Summit. We have many other platforms. We had the Expo, and now we are convening COP28 at Expo City, because we understand the power and the importance of partnership and working together, especially when we are united towards one target, which is clearly addressing climate change challenges.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm going to let you get on with it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Siemens Energy is a leading energy tech company focused on powering society and accelerating decarbonization. Dietmar Siersdorfer is the managing director of Siemens Energy here in the UAE and across the Middle East. He joins us now. Dietmar, thank you for coming. I want you to tell us about the Alliance for Industry Decarbonization that you've been part of setting up.
The Alliance for Decarbonization is an interesting journey that we started together with ARENA. It's bringing together companies that really want to do now something for the urgent problem that we have in the world to reduce CO2. So it's about partnering, coming together and setting up plans what we can do now in order to move this problem away out of the world and save CO2.
And what role do you see industry playing in the achievement of net zero?
I mean, industry is first of all one of the biggest contributors to CO2. More than 40% of the CO2 emissions come from industry. More than 30% of the energy is consumed also by industry. So that's something where we can really create an impact. But it's not an easy task because we have sometimes hard to abate industries like cement industry and steel industry, where it's not easy to get rid of the CO2. And that's why we formed this alliance to bring these people together, to join hands and to really do the impact, create the impact.
So you've said that you set up the alliance in August or September. It's not that long. Can you tell me which industries and which companies maybe are represented in the alliance?
Now we formed it in, the inauguration was actually in Bali at the G20 summit. That was the first outcome. And then at that time we had about in the tens of companies that joined us. In the meantime we are more than 30. And we have them from around the globe. They are here from the Middle East, they are from Europe, from Americas, from Asia. So it's really around the world, and it's companies that really want to drive now the impact. Companies like Petronas, like Enel, but also Taka here, for example. So just to name a few. And it's really exciting because we have every day or every week new applications where companies want to join us.
Okay, everybody seems to be working toward COP28, obviously. What is the target of the alliance by COP28?
We had at COP27, we had the first inaugurational meeting with the MDs and with the high-level people from the companies, and we rolled out some first plans and some work streams that we are working on. And we have just now here in Abu Dhabi, we have the first review also with the companies. What are the plans? What do we want to do? And the idea is to have at COP28 in November, December this year, that we then show the world also the plans, what we have done and what we want to achieve as team, as collaboration team and as Decarbonization Alliance.
So watch this space. Great, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
That's all we have time for now, but you can check out all the action online and live at adsw.live, or you can join us on our social media channels, the handles you'll see on screen right now. We'll be with you again tomorrow. That's Sunday. We'll see you then.